So on page 37 of the book, in that chapter, Bethany wrote, when you act in a way that is intentional and purposeful, you then have to trust the process without being wedded to a specific outcome, right? What it's saying is that after you have done your own part, you have to trust God for the result, right? You have to also be willing to accept something that might not be necessarily exactly what you desire, which God might think is the right thing for you, which obviously would be better than whatever it is that you had set out with, because you're limited, right, as to what you know. God might have a bigger plan for you than the one that you set out for. Also, God might give you a stopgap result while he's preparing you for something that the exact thing you want, or something bigger, right? On the way from A to B, there might be several stopgaps on the way. So you don't get agitated because of a stopgap. It might just be preparing you for the next stopgap until you get to where you're going, right? It's still the same place, talking about having the spirit of contentment and trusting God for every part of the journey. Going back to Joseph. Joseph, first of all, went to Potiphar. In Potiphar's house, he could have felt, that's his last bus stop. But it wasn't. More so, he had to go to a bus stop that was even lower than that. He could have given up and said, oh, look at me from Potiphar's house where I was. It's as if I was getting close. I've now seen home. I'm now being sent to the prison. He could have then have been discouraged. He could have then have been having an attitude and not be helping other people. You know, if he had an attitude, he would not have been made head of the prisoners. If he had an attitude, he would not have interpreted the dream of the two high-ranking officers of Pharaoh. But he did not. He trusted God for every step of the way. Same thing for us also, if we're going to get to the throne. The throne is different for every one of us. Whatever the throne is in our life, we have to trust God for where we are, where next we're going to be, where next we're going to be after that, until we get to where we want. And even when we get to where we want, we still trust God, because until we die, you know, there's always a place called there, right? You never get settled in one place, because then you start being you start being complacent. While you're here, you can never afford to be complacent, because complacency is the opening of a door for the enemy, right? There must always be something you're shooting for, something you're doing, because until it's time for us to leave here, we need to always be shooting for a goal, something to do, right? A battle to win, right? When you're complacent, you open the door for the enemy. You open the door for destruction, right? Kevin, are we in line on that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Rumi says it this way. He says, when you walk on the way, then the way appears, right? When you start your journey, then you begin to see the next step. After that step, you see the next step. You see the next step. You see the next step. Like you see with our farm, right? When we started, well, whatever we're doing right now was not originally what we planned for, what we had in mind, what we envisaged, right? We had all of those plans. We're going to do snail. We're going to do goat. We're going to do this, that. But we've learned a lot, and we keep on learning every step of the way, and we keep on changing, adjusting, all in a bit to get the best out of all that we're doing. Right? We started doing Gary with somebody, the person moved, we did with somebody, we had issues, we built our own place, we had issues, we're moving to do it somewhere else. You know, we're learning and we're going along the way. Again, that's the reason why I don't like, you know, anyone being problem minded, right? Because you're going to have problems. That's what life is. Life is full of problems, but you must never be limited by the problems. Problems are not to limit us. Problems are to exalt us, to lift us up by the solution we bring to bear, right? If you get an obstacle and you allow it to defeat you, that's the end. You're not going to go to the next step or the next place of exaltation. But when something comes and stands against you and you find a solution to it, it lifts you up, become a better person, right? You're able to then go to address bigger obstacles, because every obstacle you overcome lifts you up, exalts you. You become a better person. It gives you more grounds that you can overcome, right? That's the difference between a poor man and a rich man, right? A poor man is defeated by obstacle. The rich man is always looking for solution and opportunities. Do you understand what all I said?
And yes, sir.
And you see the applicability in all we do. Any question for me as it relates to all we do?
No, it's relatable. It's understand.
Yeah. The Chinese proverb talks about a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, which for us is what we're doing right now, right? Well, we're building a big poultry, but there's only so much money we have, so we have to determine how to make the best use of what we have, without getting to a place where we can go further, because it only makes sense for us to start producing early so that the money we'll produce can help us go further. We're not God, we're gods, small gods, but we're not big God. With big God, everything is unlimited, but we're small gods here, which by design God has made to be limited, right? Because our limitedness is wisdom. Because if everything just goes for us, then we will not be thinking deep on how to solve problem. But God intentionally creates limitation so that we can be creative about how to do things. And by being creative, we'll learn wisdom, we'll become better, we'll become good stewards of that which he has given to us. Because God could just prompt everything to you, whatever you want, but you will not grow. If you have a child and you're always giving that child whatever the child asks for, that child will not grow. Those are the people that commit suicide because they have not grown resilience, right? Lack causes us to grow resilience. God can just give us everything we want, but then we'll be people that have no mental strength, no mental resilience, right? So the intent of lack is to help us grow, help us make the best of little. That's what Paul will say. He says, I've survived in lack or in plenty. I'm able to hold myself when there's not too much. I'm able to hold myself when there's plenty, because none of these control me. I've learned how to be in these two circumstances, right? So, and that's what it builds us, right? To be creative, to make the best of the resource we have. When God finds us faithful in the little that we have, then it will give us more. It gives us more because of our faithfulness in where we are and what we have today, right? Poem that Robert first put together, it's called The Road Not Taken, right? And it's just pretty much talking about walking in the forest or making a decision, taking a decision on the path to follow as far as your life goes, and what that effect is, So two parts of it I will take up and discuss is found in the third and the fourth stanza in the end of it. I mean, you can always read that later, but in the third stanza, he talks about yet knowing how way leads to way. Like we said, one way leads to the other. When you start the journey, then like Rumi said, then you will know the way, right? When you start the journey, then you begin to find out what the different options are. Like when we started doing Gary, that's when we found out all the different obstacles, right? If we did not build the Gary place at our farm, we won't find out that we have issues getting workers. We'll have just thought there were people who can easily hire. But we found out that that's difficult, that they have a different priority from our priority, right? If we don't do in the first place we did, we won't find out that people steal, right? So we're learning, we're getting better, we're getting experience. And that's the way life is. When you start the journey, then you find out what's there, you learn from that, you continue, you find out what is it, you learn from that, you continue. All right, that's what Robert Frost means when he says, yet knowing how way leads the way. So I doubt that I should ever come back, right? When you start the journey, you know, there's someone that says that, I don't remember the person that says it, but he says that when you leave and come back to the same place, you don't come back to the exact same place, right? Because you will have changed, or the place will have changed. Someone has posted it this way. It says, you don't step to the same river 2 times. Because the first time you step into that river, right, between the time you step into the river and the next time you step into the river, what has happened? The river has flowed. It's a different water they are stepping the second time. Things have happened, changes have taken place, right? And that's the way life is, right? As we go, we're learning, we're getting better, you know, new ways are opening up to us, you know, if we learn and we're not defeated by the challenge of life, right? The fourth part, which is in the last part again of the fourth stanza of that poem, talks about when you make a decision. It says there are 2 roads that diverge into the wood, right? It took the one that is less traveled, and that has made all the difference, you know. Just same for us here. We're doing farming here. We're doing things we've not done before. Some of them we've probably done before at different stages, different levels, different scales, you know, but we're doing a lot of things we've not done before, and we're having to learn. We're having to learn that we need transport. We're having to learn the difference between different markets, you know. We're having to learn how the market changes, you know. And those are issues that we don't plan, and we're not in any way hoping that would defeat us. We're looking for solutions for them, right? And as we get those solutions, you know, we're able to harness the opportunity thereby, you know.